component of living organism. It means that if there is any living organism which does not have a cell, so we will not call that organism as living only. Cell makes us living. Now it is the structural and functional unit of life. Now initially, for any studies to be going on, the cell initially had to be discovered, isn't it? Now this cell, it was discovered by Robert Hooke in the year 1665. So he was the person who discovered the cell. But the thing is that he discovered the first dead cell. He took the cell from the cork. Have you seen the bark of a tree?
No, ma'am.
Bark of a tree, you have seen the brown part of the tree. That is known as the bark of the tree. Okay, so
Okay.
when we take out one cell out of that, so that is the cork. So he studied that and he said that, okay, these are the dead cells. Later on, what happened is that the first living cell was discovered, and it was discovered by Anton von Leeuwenhoek. He was the person who discovered the first living cell. Now, see, if we want to divide the organisms into two types, depending upon the number of cells in their body. So the organism can be unicellular or they can be multicellular. Now those organisms that are unicellular, it means that they just have one cell in their body. Uni means one, cellular means made up of cells. So those organisms that are just made up of one cell, they are known as unicellular, such as bacteria and all these single cell organisms. But the other type of organism is multicellular, meaning multi means multiple, more than one, and cellular means made up of cells. So those organisms that are made up of more than one cells, we call them as multicellular organisms. Clear? And the
Yes,
examples
ma'am.
here, examples are
Yes, ma'am.
man, cow, dog, plant, meaning all these organisms, they are multicellular organisms. Now, Anton von Leeuwenhoek, in the year 1674, he discovered the living cell. Now, the shape and the size of the cells, they vary according to the functions that they perform. Meaning, the cells, they come in variety of shapes and variety of forms. So, a lot of variety of them is there. And they are, you can say, there is the variation in shapes and sizes depending upon what is the function that they are supposed to be performing. Just like how we have muscle cells, nerve cells, gametes, all of these are cells, right? Now talking about the cell size. So the cell size, it varies a lot. Some cells are bigger and some cells are very small. So now those cells that are bigger, we can see them normally with our naked eye. But those cells which are very tiny, so we need a device that is known as microscope to see those cells. Now the cells that are seen with the help of microscopes, they are only a few micrometers in diameter. They are so tiny that we have to use a device to visualize them. Clear? All right. Now moving forward. Any doubts up until now about the cell introductory part and the types of organisms? Any doubts? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now moving forward, see, when people discovered cell, so after that they started to study more and more about the cell. Like how do we study? What is the cell related to? How does it function and everything? So they started to study more and more about cell. So after that, they gave a cell theory. Now, according to this particular theory, what happens? Now, this cell theory is given by two biologists, that was Clyden and Swan. So both of them gave 2 points. They said that all the plants and animals, they are made up of cells, and that cell is the basic unit of life. These are the 2 points that they said. But apart from this, do you think that after giving these 2 lines, they said anything about where is the cell coming from? Have they said anything about that?
No, ma'am.
No. So then came another scientist, and his name was Rudolf Virchow. Now, him in the year 1855, he said that all cells come from pre-existing cells, meaning the cells that are there, the new cells, they are formed from the old cells. So with this, the cell theory was completed. And the cell theory has 3 points: that all plants and animals are made up of cells, and that cell is the basic unit of life, and all the cells come from pre-existing cell. But remember that if someone asks you like who gave the cell theory, so your answer should be Schleiden and Swan gave the cell theory. Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
All right. Now see, this cell theory is actually applicable to all the living organisms, meaning every organism that is living, the cell theory is applicable to it. But there is an exception. Only organism, or you can say the cell theory is an exception to the viruses. Viruses are not, you can say the cell theory is not applicable to viruses. Why? Because they are not truly living. What happens? As I told you that cell theory is applicable for all living organisms except virus. Why? Because viruses, once they are present outside the body of human beings, they are dead. Do you know what, what do viruses do in our body? What is the function of viruses?
Ma'am, infecting us and all, destroying the white blood cells and all.
Very good, exactly. They cause disease, isn't it? They infect
Yes,
us
yes.
and they cause disease. So the viruses, once they are inside our body, then they become alive and then they infect us. But if you take out the virus outside, for example, if the virus is present on the table, on the chair, and even on your hand, at that time viruses are dead. They become alive only when they are present inside our body. Okay. So with that being said, can we call viruses as living or can we call them as dead? There is no clear line, isn't it? We can't call them
Yes,
anything.
ma'am.
Yeah. So they are not truly living. And we know that the cell theory is applicable only to those organisms that are living. So that is why the viruses, they are an exception to the cell theory. Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay, do you know what is botany and zoology?
No, ma'am.
See, the study of biology. We know biology is a subject. This biology, when you'll go in higher classes, you will understand that biology has been divided into 2 parts. One is botany, which is the study of plants, and one is zoology, that is the study of animals. Okay, you should know it beforehand. Now, here I have written some questions that may come from these topics. So while you're taking down the notes, when I'll give you time to take down the notes, you note it down also. Okay. Now, see, in our body, what happens when cells they come together, meaning a group of cells, they form a tissue. Then, when a group of tissue is present, they form an organ. And when multiple organs are present together, so the group of organ forms an organ system. So as we move from a lower organism to a higher organism, what happens is that you can say the organization increases. Okay. Now, when we talk about the cell and to see the components of the cell. So the cell has these components: plasma membrane, nucleus, cytoplasm, or you can call it as protoplasm, and then there is the cell organelles. But before we study each of these components, we should know that first we have discussed that organisms are of 2 types: unicellular and multicellular. But there is another division of organism, that is prokaryotic and eukaryotic. Now see, prokaryotic organisms are those organisms that do not have a membrane bound nucleus, meaning their nucleus is not surrounded by any membrane. But eukaryotic organisms are those organisms that have a proper nuclear membrane, meaning a membrane is present which surrounds the nucleus. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts up until now?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so what are the two types of organisms on the basis of number of cells?
Unicellular and multicellular.
Very good. And then what are the two types of organisms on the basis of nuclear membrane?
Um, Prokaryotic and eukaryotic
Very
cells.
good. Exactly. Now see, amongst the prokaryotes and eukaryotes, the prokaryotes are primitive, whereas the eukaryotes are advanced organisms. Clear? They are much more advanced. The body structures in eukaryotes are much more better than the prokaryotic organisms. Now, in this particular chapter, we will be talking about each of the components of the cell in detail. Like we'll talk about the plasma membrane, we'll talk about the nucleus, we'll talk about the cytoplasm, and then we'll also talk about all the cell organelles which are present inside the cell. Okay. So now coming on
Okay,
to
ma'am.
these parts, these are the questions that can come from what I've taught you up till now, like who discovered the first living cell, what are the three basic components of cell, and then give a brief account of different types of cell present in human body. Now see, inside the human body, there are multiple kinds of cells present, such as nerve cells, gametes, then there are muscle cells. Okay, so many different kinds of cells are present in humans' body, right? And each of them have their own function to perform. So we have nerve cells, then we have muscle cells, we have gametes, right? Eggs and the sperms, both of these are the cells that are present in human. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now you can note down and tell me when you're done. Okay. So that I'll scroll it for you. Okay. And
Okay.
note down everything that is there in your notebook.
Done, ma'am. Done, ma'am. I'm done.